Something curious happened during the O'Reilly factor last night. The show just ended 15 minutes early, and there was really no explanation why. In fact, Bill O'Reilly teased another segment and then never came back. He just never came back. No one can explain it. Okay.
Bill O'Reilly goes in, Bill O'Reilly goes out. You can't explain that.
So I'll give you some more context. There's a lot of drama and a huge kerfuffle with previous advertisers. Advertisers have pulled out, so maybe that's a reason why the show randomly ended 15 minutes early. But just take a quick look at what happened. This was the last segment that he did, even though he had teased another segment that was supposed to follow. Take a look.
Waters on deck. Texas City says no to young spring breakers. Waters is next.
Shepard Smith reporting from the Fox News deck in New York. Interesting developments today in foreign policy. This afternoon, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson announced from South Florida that the President of the United States had been deeply impacted by the Syrian strikes, Syrian missile strikes, I should say chemical strikes, that killed some 80 people in an attack there. The Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad launching that attack on his own people, leaving more than 100 people wounded.
All right, so the way that this has been reported was, okay, this is strange, but I think for the average viewer, actually, even now, I look at that and I'm like, yeah, there was breaking news, so what's the big deal? So maybe it was just breaking news and maybe we're making too much out of nothing.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, especially on a day like yesterday. But so here's what makes it a little bit more fishy. So they had not gone to breaking news in quite some time. And Shep Smith did not have any new news. He broke in with the same exact news that you had hours earlier in the night.
Right.
There wasn't like, oh, and a new development, it turns out we hit this instead of that. It was just repeating what they had before. But on the other hand, cable news repeats itself endlessly, so that could be. They also, though, did not run the rerun of Bill O'Reilly later in the night.
Drama.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
There it is. Cause for concern.
Okay. Now remember, I remember at least when Oberman left MSNBC, like there was all of these things of like drama, like wait, this is a little weird, that's a little strange. And then one night Oberman came on and said, this is my last broadcast. And people are like, what the hell? But you had seen the signs ahead of time that it was heading in that direction. So now I don't know. I mean, obviously the reason why people are speculating about it is because Bill O'Reilly is, now the news is out that they settled 5 different cases of sexual harassment that O'Reilly had done internally at Fox News, cost Fox News $13 million. I don't think they're worried about that money because they make a ton of money from his show, but they're worried about their reputation and of course they are worried about the money when it comes to advertisers pulling out today, which they have, dozens of advertisers have pulled out, and O'Reilly might be pissed about that. Or by the way, one other possibility, and without being inside Fox News, it's impossible to know for sure, is that maybe for some reason that spring break segment there was something wrong with.
Yeah, you know how they, I mean, even there's always something wrong with their spring break segments, right? And they don't care. They just want to talk about spring break, even if like what they're reporting isn't factual, because they want to show women in bikinis and then pretend like they're very offended by the women in bikinis. Okay, but I actually, Ambria, I have a question for you. Okay, so imagine we're at a workplace, okay, and we're just groping dudes. You know, like I go up to some dude and I'm like, nice, right? And I do it so often that, and these guys are so uncomfortable that they go after me, right? And so my boss and my company has to sue all these cases for millions of dollars, right?
Settle them,
yeah, I'm sorry, settle these cases for millions of dollars. How quickly would a woman get fired? I would be fired, but like I would be fired for thinking about groping someone, right? Of course. I mean, maybe not, I don't know. But I just feel like there's a huge issue here with the fact that we're having a conversation speculating about whether or not his career is over. Homeboy has been accused by dozens of women of sexually harassing them. The company has had to pay millions of dollars to settle all these cases. Why is he still there? Why are we having a conversation about this? It's crazy.
Can I just say very quickly, if you are ever fired for groping a guy, I will hire you. I will hire any woman who is fired for groping a guy. Any woman who ever gets fired for that. I am gonna, in fact, I will have you demonstrate the offending action
I denounce and reject this. Okay, Ambria, really.
I think that's why he still has a job, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, our president is our president, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, accusations of sexual assault don't change the culture of companies, right? They don't change the culture of the NFL. They don't change the culture of any organization. The good news here is that we got 15 fewer minutes of Bill O'Reilly.
That's just
in general. So for whatever reason, this is good news.
Yeah, you know, I don't think, and I'm not sure it's a guy-girl thing, right? Because I think, if anything, and this is not right of me, but hold on. But I think if a guy grabbed a woman in the workplace, I would go to DEFCON, whichever one's higher. I think 5 is higher rather than 1. But anyway, whatever it is, I would go nuclear on that quicker than if a woman did it, because I would pause for a second if a woman did it, like, wait, was that consensual? And that's not necessarily right, by the way. And of course you would actually talk to them and adjudicate it, and you wouldn't act right away. Hopefully we're smart enough to actually figure out what's going on first. But so that's why I don't necessarily think that it's a man versus woman thing as much as an old school versus new school.
So,
in the old school, yeah, guys were in charge and they got to grope anyone they liked. And if women were in charge, they would have gotten to grope anyone they want, but they weren't.
But that old school work environment was rooted in gender inequality. Let's keep it real, right?
That's definitely true.
The notion that women are at the workplace for a specific reason, not to actually add to, the creativity or the success of this company, but they're there for maybe some of the administrative work, secretarial work, some of the lower level positions, and we get to grope you every once in a while, and you can't complain about it, right? And if you do complain about it, we'll find a way to pay you off so you shut your mouth. So yeah, I think that's rooted in gender issues, but maybe that wasn't a fair example because I don't know, there really isn't a prevalence of women going around groping male colleagues, okay? But just to kind of juxtapose Bill O'Reilly to another conservative woman in the media, okay, I mean, I don't like her at all, and I'm not trying to defend her, but let's talk about Tomi Lahren. She had the audacity to make sense once in her career, and she gets fired immediately, right? She's not going around sexually harassing people. She's not going around doing anything illegal, right? But it doesn't matter. Like, a woman steps out of line for 1 second, gone. And with Bill O'Reilly, I mean, apparently he can do whatever he wants, right?
And you got to remember who set that original, chauvinist, sexist. I know that like the right wingers these days are special snowflakes, and they get triggered the minute you say sexist. They're like, nothing sexist. You guys are making it up. Nothing sexist. Okay, snowflakes, calm down for a second. Land on the ground, okay? And remember, back in the day, it's not arguable. The Mad Men era was true that first of all, women were not allowed to have the higher level jobs. First of all, they weren't allowed in the workplace to begin with. Then when they were allowed as secretaries. And yes, men groped, slept with, etc. And back then there were no settlements, there were no lawsuits.
Yeah.
If you didn't agree to sleep with the boss, you were fired oftentimes. Not every time, but oftentimes, right? So now the thing that's amazing is some of those folks still live among us. So Roger Ailes comes from that era. So to him, that was the norm. So for him, he's so bothered that, God, now we can't even just sleep with any woman we want and coerce them and force them by using our power to sleep with us, even though they don't want to sleep with us. And to him, he's like, the good old days, if we could just make America great again.
Right.
And he set the tone. He ran Fox News. So when the guy at the top was doing that, dozens of charges against him, well, of course, when Bill O'Reilly, somebody comes in and says, hey, Bill O'Reilly sexually harassed me, Roger Ailes isn't gonna punish Bill O'Reilly. He's gonna give him a pat on the back and go, don't worry, I got a slush fund just for this. We've been using it for me, and we'll use it for you. Of course, they're the ones who set that culture. But I think the one positive thing that we got out of all this is, or the one negative thing I should say, of him ending 15 minutes early is, I'm still wondering what Talking Points is gonna say about spring break.
Me too.
We're not the Young Turks, you're the Young Turks. You power this show. Together we built something amazing. We've broken stories like the Donna Brazile story the mainstream media wouldn't break. We built the studio, we built this network, it's now #1. All thanks to you guys. Let's come build it even bigger and stronger. TYTnetwork.com/join.